Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, so as usual, I have not done a very good job in actually preparing everything. There's a whole bunch of stuff I'd love to show you for this video, but I haven't really gotten it together. One day I'll get my act together. One of these days, I swear it. The big question today is there any real room out there for, text-based baseball games? It really is a question to ask. So a couple of weeks ago, there was somebody who left a comment on one of my videos, one of my older videos actually, about Diamond Mine Baseball, saying that when they initially purchased it in the late 90s, they thought it looked boring. And I've thought about that a lot, and I've thought, wow, I wonder why you would look at this and think that it's boring. There are two different immediate reactions I had. The first one is sort of the fanboy reaction, where you look at this and say, oh, well, you think it's boring just because you don't know what it's like, right? You didn't spend a whole bunch of time messing with the play-by-play, or you didn't go in and start this experiment or that experiment or whatever. Now, the truth is, I don't really know. He's talking about like the DOS days, so like 97, 98, something like that. So maybe he was right. Maybe it was a lot more boring back then. But then I started to really think about it, and I thought, no, he's got something, right? There is a bit of boringness here in the game. So let's go and take a quick look here and see if we can point out some of the boring elements, right? So, this is, the schedule game screen. So if I want to show this to you, I'll quit Diamond Mine. I'll show you what I do when I log in. I've done this before. Click on Diamond Mine Baseball 12, then Diamond Mine Baseball. And this is your splash screen, and then this is the opening screen of the game. I have an idea why he says it's boring, right? What do you think about this, right? There's nothing. There's nothing at all, right? This is it. This is the whole thing. Don't be distracted by my picture on here, right? Because, I move myself around here or there or whatever. You can see there's nothing going on. There's nothing here at all. There's absolutely nothing. There's no standings. There's no pictures. There's no, here's what happened in the last game. There's no, there's nothing, right? It's just gray, right? And then you have to know where to go. So if you're playing this the first time, you're going up here and you're like, I don't know what to do, right? Because you have to go over here to the help screen, and there's not even, there should be a tutorial, basic tutorial, which will tell you. So you got to go over here to the basic tutorial, and then you click on basic tutorial again, and then it says, okay, we're going to play an exhibition game. So you go to the menu, then you go to game, then exhibition, and blah, 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 right? But this is a problem, right? There's no button here saying click me, play game. No, there's nothing like that, right? When you know what you're doing, right, it becomes a little bit easier. You go over to game and then scheduled, and here's your schedule. Here's where your replay is. This screen tells you a little bit more. I know for you guys, this is so small you can't see it, right? Is this a game for ants or what, right? But this will tell me, the exactly where I am in the schedule, which game to play next. I can go up here. I can look at the box score of the game that was played before, or this game or whatever, right? I can look at the standings up here. We can see the scores. I don't know why the scores are listed separately from the standings. It's really bizarre. But whatever, editorial decision, I suppose. And some of these screens are somewhat useful, but it'd be nice to have the useful stuff in a place that pops up automatically, so it's not hidden, right? Now, I don't have it. This is where I have a problem, right? I don't have a copy of the game, so you have to trust me on this one. But if you open up Action PC Baseball, you'll notice right from the start that there's this screen that shows you, what the standings are, who the league leaders are. It will highlight your team if you are managing a team, and the computer is doing the rest and all of that. It's actually pretty cool, right? It comes right up on the screen as soon as you open it up. In fact, you can customize it so that you can have whatever it is you want to open up as soon as you open it, right? That is what I would consider to be not boring, right? You open up the screen, and if you're like me, you're really into these kind of games and these replays, you're like, oh, cool, I didn't know this, or I didn't know that, or wow, look at what's happening with this guy or something, right? That's what you want your players to do, not to, come open again to, sorry, where's my mouse? Here we go. Not to come over, open again to this screen right here, right? So yeah, I would say it's pretty boring. You've seen me do some of this stuff before, right? Go to look at the leaderboard, right? And you have to click on this thing, and you got to click something here. And this is what you get as a leaderboard, right? Some of it's cool, right? I can double click on Eddie Juiced and see how he's doing. He's scored 38 runs already, hitting only 283, 443 on base percentage. It compares him to real life right away. That's actually pretty cool. But this menu system is really not eye-attracting at all. I read a lot about video games, right? I don't play that many, but I read a lot of articles, and I know there are people who are critical of the industry saying, oh, there's all these tactics that people use to get you addicted. Well, I'll tell you what, we don't have to worry about that from Diamond Mine Baseball because Here you don't see any of those tactics. You don't see any of the bright colors and the sounds and anything. There's no sound in the game. The colors are all kind of like grayed out, and the text is extremely small, very difficult on my eyes, and I'm not that old, right? It's a very, very frustrating thing, and you look at this and you think, at what point in time are we going to fix things up? So yes, I would say that this game is somewhat boring, definitely, right? There's all sorts of weird stuff in this game. If you're not familiar with how it works, you have a backup and restore thing so that you can back up your database and restore it. You also can export a league database, which is like the same thing. Usually I think backup works a little bit better, though the thing that works the best actually is to just have the folder files, know where they are, and then when you move to a new computer, put the file folder there and have the new game or the computer on the new game point to those files. You added the INI file. I don't know. That might be like a Linux user solution though, because we're used to editing configuration files anyway. But that's a lot easier than using the sort of buggy backup restore program and stuff. Sort of a hint to the wise. But I mean, a lot of the stuff here is just kind of meh. If you want to change anything, you have to go over here to the organizer. That's where you put in the team nicknames, and you can fix around the names of the parks. You can go look through all the players. You can do fun stuff there. Change the names of the league. You put them in an organization. I've talked about this before. The organization can only have 2 leagues in it. You think that's like old-fashioned? Same thing is true of OOTP. So there. Here you can look at the eras. So if you really want to see, you can be like, oh, what's the National League era? And you can look at this, and you can look at all of these different rates and stuff. What you're missing here, by the way, is there's no foul ball rate anywhere, which is... oh, no, I'm sorry. There is one here. Here we go. Yeah, foul rate and then the in-play rate. You can edit that, though this takes a little bit more sort of digging into and getting used to. We're not going to do that right now because it takes a lot of testing to make sure you get that right. And then here you can mess around with the schedule. See, here we have the as scheduled schedule. If you had a draft, you could look at it here. You can start a new draft if you won. That's another topic. Drafting in this game, oh man. And then you can go look at the notes. You can look at the wonderful notes. Usually, in the past, they would have notes about specific seasons. Here, they just give you the generic notes. So while we're talking about boringness, we'll go over here and just do a random exhibition game. We're not really going to play. So we just click OK. See, this is what I do when I'm going to do exhibition whatever. We go to computer, right? I know I can change this beforehand, but meh, I don't want to screw things up for my replay, right? I don't want to have to go on tomorrow and then change any sort of setting, right? Here we are in game. We're looking for what things are boring. So the way that stats are displayed in DiamondMine is something I like. You might not like it so much. I do like it, right? I like having the stats over here for the player up. I wish I could customize this, right? I wish I could customize this a little bit and focus a little bit more on in-game statistics, maybe put OPS up on here, something like that. I also wish that when we had a player on base, so let's say we intentionally walk this guy, right? There we go. Even with the bases empty, we walk Stanky because we really worry about him, right? If I want to see if Stanky's a good runner or not, I've got to look at these ratings. That's what I go off of, right? If I want to see how many he stole, how many times he was caught stealing, I have to double click on him. Then I look and I say, oh, okay, maybe he's not that big of a problem, right? So there are some issues with that stuff here. There's some issues with like the statistics issued or listed for pitchers as well. You can't look at the batted against average. You have to double click at the guy and then look over to secondary statistics. I'm sorry. No, you don't even do that. You kind of look and guess. You can look at his hits per 9 innings, right? I mean, I know it's a little bit older, right? It would just be nice if we had the batted against average like here. Whatever. Some things you can see, you can look at the weather report and you can look at it again. It stays the same. So that's a lot of fun. If you really want to, you can go into quick play and play up to a certain inning, right? Which is sort of interesting. If you don't want to play the game, you just want to skip through it. Don't know why you would want to do that, right? But, the actual gameplay of the game is a little bit boring. A lot of people have talked here about, the park, what are these? The park diagrams and stuff. I actually don't mind them. When my dad and I first got this game, we were coming over from Baseball for Windows, and I was used to that where you would get photos of ballparks or artistic renditions. I actually like this a little bit better because you can see the contours of the ballpark. It's better for those of us who use our imagination. But I can see some of the criticisms too. Some people who play DiamondMine will use photos here. You can also get player photos here and there. I don't do it. I mean, I've played this game for 20-something years. I'm too stuck in my ways to mess around with that stuff. Some of the ballpark photos look a little bit odd, and it doesn't always fit the players that well. You have to kind of mess around. By the way, you cannot change where these players are positioned because, of course, it has to be stationary. And sometimes when I use a computer like this one, you know, it's going to be a little bit odd because I just realized I'm in front of the picture. Hold on. Let's get this over here. There we go. Sometimes when I use a monitor like this one, it's going to be a little bit strange because of the dimensions of the monitor and stuff like that. So there's all sorts of like weird stuff that goes on, right? When you, I don't know, when you call for something, this is what the play-by-play is, right? So it just opens up here in the replay box and it tells you what happens, and that's how the game is played. Again, I can see this being boring. I don't know. There's a lot of things that, you know, I understand that could be frustrating. I'll put it to you this way, right? If you're a kid, if you're like, I don't know, my oldest is 14. So if you're like 14 years old and you're thinking, oh, I want to actually play some old computer baseball sim, you'd be a kid after my own heart, right? Because that's what I did when I was 14. But if you're a kid like that these days, I don't know why in the world you would play a game like this, honestly. Aside from the realism, which I think Diamond Mine still has, I really have a hard time coming up with a reason. I mean, you know, the in-game stuff is not really there, and then the non-in-game stuff really isn't there either. I mean, it's almost like playing a spreadsheet. It's kind of like, you know, going to work for fun, you know. Anyway, that's kind of my opinion on that. I'd love to know what you guys think. It is a step up from some of the text-based games that we saw in the past. Not today, but maybe at some other time we'll take a look at some of the other games of the past and sort of look at what they looked like. Diamond Mine, I mean, it's up there, you know. I do think it's good in terms of realism, but if this game were coming out new today, I'm pretty sure they would try to do some sort of engine like OOTP does, or even at least something like what Action PC does with the little names like moving around and stuff, right? Give us something to look at, right? Make it at least somewhat engaging. As it stands now, I mean, the engagement is coming from you, the user, and the game is not really engaging with you. In fact, the game kind of wants to keep you at, you know, at arm's length. So there you have it. Love to know what you guys think. Talk to you later. Bye.